Yes, Guyana to the world.
GlobeSpan is a Guyanese dialogue moving towards the realization of one nation in one Guyana. It's a platform that offers an all-inclusive discussion with the pros, the cons, the ones that is taken aside, and the ones that stand in the middle. GlobeSpan believes agreeing and disagreeing are part of the nation's building.
She is a beauty, beautiful Guyana, with wonderful people all over this country.
GlobeSpan believes every Guyanese voice is part of the nation's building. As we span the globe for voices from the diaspora and those living home, we stand on our commitment that we are all Guyanese working towards one nation in one Guyana. As the world turns on its axis bringing changes, we as Guyanese must adapt to those changes for a better Guyana for all. GlobeSpan stands on its axis with its belief that one nation, one Guyana, one destiny must include voices from all corners of Guyana.
With many flavors, 6 different people blended together. Raise your flag high in unity, we're family with one destiny. Raise your flag high in unity.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us this evening on GlobeSpan 24/7, owned and operated by Mr. Nohar Singh, with Devin Bassoon as our technical operator. Tonight we are discussing immigration updates for Guyanese travelers, the diaspora, and other non-Guyanese as well. Joining us to discuss this topic is a prominent attorney at law, Mr. Albert Baldeo. This topic has come about as a result of President Trump's new immigration policies. He has been there only for 16 days thus far and has shaken up the country, international community. He has caused Guyanese to be, and other immigrants in the United States and Guyanese at home, to be concerned, worried, fearful. And so giving us an update tonight was Mr. Albert Baldeo, who is no stranger to this program. Mr. Baldeo is also an elected community leader. Mr. Baldeo, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, sir. Well, in my capacity as an elected district leader, that's how I will address this issue. So we'll have a broader paradigm in which to work with. Let's start off. Yes, it seems it's just 16 days, but it seems like 60 years because so much has been happening. Every day, something new, every minute, every hour, there's a change in dynamics in the Trump administration, from immigration to Gaza Strip up to today. The latest we have heard just recently, a few hours ago, that he wants to take over the Gaza Strip. And folks have come out and denounced it and said that is like ethnic cleansing. What you're doing, Mr. Trump, is taking those people out of their rightful homeland. It will have a lot of international repercussions, human rights violations. That's an area that, you had Netanyahu meeting, and after that, it came out of that. I think that he has to rein himself in, because right now, there's too many threats and too much action on his part. And whilst he's doing that, the price of egg is going up. It's like $1 now for one egg. A dozen egg is like, I think, $10 or something like that. And the price of bread is going up. It's like $5 for, a loaf of bread. And everything else that will have a snowball effect. Plus, with the price of groceries and rations and the ability to live going up, Mr. Bisram, that's not a good sign. And that's very troubling. And like you said, he's threatened to come out of the United Nations. I think he signed some documents today. There's threats all over, nationally, regionally, nationally, internally. As a matter of fact, Congressman Green, has just moved the resolution to impeach him. So based on this Gaza plan to ethnic cleansing to take over the Gaza land away from the Palestinian people. So the problem there is that he's creating a lot of enemies around the world. He's creating a lot of tension. He's creating a lot of problems. We did acknowledge the fact that he was he was elected by a very large majority. He did have the mandate, but we didn't expect that the mandate would be sort of like, but right now it's being abused to this extent, where the Constitution, the U.S. Constitution, the United Nations Charter, and all these other great documents that define us as human beings and define the rule of law and the due process of law, nationally, regionally, internationally, are being encroached upon by President Trump. So we call upon him to ease up a little bit, to hold back the horses. This is not, there's no, this big hustle towards making the country divided like this, and the world, and terrorizing Canada, Panama Canal. He wants to own Greenland. He wants to take over. There's no end to this sort of confusion that's going on. But to get back to what, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So community leader, elected district leader, Balu, you want us to give us a little background? I mean, how about the immigration what's his policy in immigration right now?
Well, let's deal with Guyanese coming here and other folks around the world. As you know, he wants to take out birthright citizenship, which is contrary to the 14th Amendment. 2 federal courts, one up to today, have blocked him and said, you can't do that, President Trump. Your executive order is null and void. It's unconstitutional. It's beyond the law, and hence it's unenforceable. So 2 federal judges have actually struck down his executive actions and said, you cannot override the Constitution. Of course, no president, and they're right, no president can override the U.S. Constitution. The U.S. Constitution is the most important document, and any law, bylaw, or subsidiary legislation that conflicts with that Constitution shall be pro tanto void, meaning that to the extent of its inconsistency. So the entire birthright citizenship that is threatened to take away, his actions there are void, ab initio from the very beginning. So it's just as if they have no force and effect. However, this has sent a lot of pandemonium. It set a lot of panic and fear amongst people. It therefore means that Guyanese coming here and all around the world who's coming here, pregnant women, are going to be questioned and possibly interrogated and possibly sent back. And, that is something one cannot hide because, with pregnant women, their abdomens will show that they are pregnant. It's difficult to hide that. And therefore, from the instructions they've gotten from right up in the federal government to President Trump, they will be asked to scrutinize folks, find out how often you come here. Are you going to go back? Do you have medical care? Are you going to be a burden on the system? One thing can lead to another, and they can say, you know what, I believe that you're coming to be a public charge. You're a risk to the tax system of America, and therefore, he has an absolute discretion. An immigration officer can tell such a person, a pregnant mother, I'm not allowing your family to come into the country. It may be very well inhumane, and it is. But it's something that is within their discretion. So unfortunately, that will impact Guyanese mothers and other folks, pregnant families who are expecting children to come here. Of course, it's a great thing to have a child born in America, but he calls them anchor babies. And he feels that this is a ruse of these folks to come here and get free medical care and advanced pregnancy care and things like that, and benefits, including U.S. citizenship, which now will be like the anchor for others to come. Now, that has never been the case where such folks are denied entry into the greatest country in the world. And it should not now occur because it sends, it's illegal, his order is illegal, the actions are inhumane. And but of course, folks coming here have to be careful. So if you listen to this program, I know we have a lot of listeners in Guyana, the Caribbean, and around the world. You have to be careful how you travel, how you come here, how you answer questions. Don't speak too much. If you're coming on a visitor's visa, yes, I'm coming to visit. If you say you're coming to work and you don't have a work visa, a lot of people come here, especially during summer, contractors and traders and so on. They come here and catch the hand, so to speak, in Guyana. Those people will be at risk because they will say, you don't have a visa to work. And we're not going to admit you to this country. The work they're doing may be work that American people do not do. American workers do not do the jobs that they're going to do: construction, waiters, bar people, security guard, and so forth. These are the engines of the economy. But unfortunately, America has gotten so cruel now that these poor folks will have it hard, Mr. Bisram, not to be allowed entry. So they have to be careful not to show that they're coming to work or they're not coming contrary to the terms of their visa, and that they don't belong to any sort of socialist or communist organization. And whatever questions that they give or whatever their activities are, they have to be very careful because there's a lot of scrutiny. As a matter of fact, just yesterday, some folks came to me and told me that they were the DREAM folks, the DACA, Deferred Action Referrals. Those are the children who studied here. and are very bright. Some are going to be doctors, lawyers, engineers, the cream of the crop, the brightest of the brightest. These folks used to get 2 years extension. Now they're just getting a year. They've cut it down to a year. And yet Elon Musk and President Trump are saying, oh, we need these folks because they're the best around the world. And yet with the H visa, the professional visas, they're cutting down from 2 years, 3 years to just a year on an interim basis. Same thing with the DACA child deferred arrivals, these brilliant young people who can build America. They're cutting down on their visa severely. So the question arises, are you going to allow the Eastern European white folks to come here over the folks, the registered nurses, the physical therapists, the folks who said we need in this country to help build America, who do the hard work? Or are you just going to allow people based on race or based on their country of origin, where the Eastern Europeans get full preference over Caribbean folks who come here and do the grunt work? It's totally unfair. It's very bad policy. Folks have got to come in and tell the president, Mr. President, you're wrong. We can't run the country like this. We need to embrace everybody. You're creating too many, enemies around the world. You're creating too many problems. And I think you should cool down and calm yourself, and let's just focus on what can bring down the cost of living, make America great again, because that's not going to make America great again. That will be contrary to the whole philosophy and policy on which he came into office. And people are going to have second guesses with him. There's a lot of people right now who have buyer's remorse on the president, and he's causing that on himself, because many of his policies now he's rolling back, the federal employees and all of that. When he fired a lot of them, he's cleaned out a lot of folks in the FBI. A lot of stuff is going on that ought not to be. And he also talked about closing down the education Department of Education. So people are asking, Mr. Bisram, is Elon Musk running this country or President Trump? So President Trump has got to surround himself with the best advisors and the people very learned there and so forth. A lot of mistakes are being made. People are even questioning his appointees like Kennedy, whether Robert Kennedy, with his views and his proclivities towards healthcare and his mannerisms of vaccines and his attitude towards certain medical solutions, is really the kind of person who can head a health organization, a very important part of our community and our country and our nation. And if you're going to put someone like that there, a Democrat previously, but who has all these cockamamia theories about medicine and doesn't believe in vaccines and all these things, is he going to be the person who's going to run this country? And there's so many vaccines we have to take for whooping cough and COVID and all these sorts of things. Or are we going to practice defensive medicine to save lives? So that is a problem right now we have. And I think there's time for the Trump administration to take a few steps back, halt the process, and to think and implement policies that will be best suited for our entire country and the world, because America is the most powerful country in the world. And when America sneezes, the whole world catches a cold. So he's got to remember his leadership is very, very important right now. And he's got to, review it.
Just to give clarity, birthright citizenship was referring to, what Trump was referring to was illegal people in the United States, females who give birth. Their children, their babies, would not be given automatic citizenship if both parents are illegal immigrants, or if they are visitors to the United States. Am I right in that?
Yes, you're right about that. But the problem here is that, as a matter of fact, his last son, and I don't mean to be personal to the president, but this is all public knowledge. I'll show you how the law can also affect everybody. When Melania Trump gave birth to her son, Barron, she was not a citizen. She was just a green card holder. So people are saying that's why he made a law that if one person is a citizen, then that person is enough to suit his son or what may be. So the thing is, though, and you agree on that and how you put it, but he wants to actually bend the law, carry the law further, and actually go after people, because people born here are actually asking if they're going to be deported. So let us settle that issue right now, and let us tell you this. If you are a citizen of the United States, you cannot be deported 99.8% of the time. If your application was had fraud inside, and you applied and stated false things, for example, if you had previously been arrested and you said no, and they find out, that is when they can start removal proceedings. But they just or revocation of citizenship. They're just gonna come and grab you and put you on the military plane and said, "I'm taking you back home," or "I'm taking you to El Salvador." And El Salvador is one of those countries, and a lot of countries have buckled, Mexico and all these countries, when they tell them that I'm going to put tariffs on you unless you agree to what I want. Guyana will accept its deportees. If Guyana had said, "We're not going to take back our deportees," I believe that President Trump would have created havoc with Guyana and Venezuela's situation. So that's a situation where he uses these things very harshly and rules with a big fist, a very heavy hand. And most likely you're told, Guyana, if you don't take your deportees back, although they're products of American society, they learn their crime and their trade over here, then I'm going to, probably not help you with Venezuela or Exxon interest in Guyana. So this is a kind of problem that he can, or any person can use. As you know, he's a businessman, he's a strategist, and hence he uses every weapon or opportunity to his extent, to his benefit. But at the same time, this acceptance of deportees and folks who have run foul of the law. But let us understand this, people. He cannot deport citizens in the main. Once you're a citizen here and you haven't obtained your citizenship by fraud, you're good to go, meaning that they cannot deport you. That applies to 99.9%.
Same for green card, unless you commit a crime.
Yes, green card also, they can be deported if folks commit a crime. But of course, here again, they have to put them through a process called the revocation of that green card. It has to go to an immigration judge. And most likely these cases, like all other cases where people are filed for, if they're picked up and they said that they want a lawyer and want to contest these proceedings, the Trump administration will come to an end before their cases are heard. So people will be able to strategically buy time. I guess that's similar to what those folks in Guyana are doing for that election rigging in Guyana. The lawyers there who represent in Mingo and Lowenfield and those group of electoral fraudsters in Guyana, they're buying time to push it towards the next election and beyond. So that way the statute can run, or two, the case can fall apart. By the same token, immigration lawyers are using the technique of dragging the case on, and that is their right, especially in a humane case like this, to tell the judge, well, we're not asking for an expedited hearing, we're asking for a regular hearing. And that will not come up before. And then, only a judge can deport someone, not an administration, not ICE. It has to be signed, a final order of deportation by an immigration judge. And that's not a very easy thing to get right away, but most people give up their rights. That's why you see all those criminals are being deported, because they don't have any defense. They don't have any right to appear before an immigration judge, and even if they have, it's not a very solid basis to stay here. But many of those folks within that, as you know, it's called collateral damage. Many folks have been picked up. If ICE comes to arrest two criminals at a certain address and they find undocumented folks there, they have the perverse discretion to arrest those folks who have not run foul of the law, trying to just make a living here, dump them in the plane also, and send them in a military plane to the country of their origin. And if those countries do not accept them, they can send them to El Salvador, because the El Salvador said, I will take all the criminals, refugees, and all the folks that have hardcore. I'm going to take them. I'm surprised that a country is accepting that sort of deportees who have had criminal records. There must be some other reason.
Yeah. Can you clarify? There's a list of Guyanese, I think it's 1,200, 1,300, who are ready to be deported to Guyana. Who are they, and what would be some of the reasons why they're being deported?
Well, this is another thing. We don't have access to that kind of information, and it ought to be on some kind of public website. That so-and-so has been arrested. This is why he's been deported, he or she, how long he's been here, and whether they have legal representation or not. I can understand the criminals. We support and agree with President Trump that when it comes to violent criminals like gangbangers and murderers and drug dealers and traffickers and terrorists, by all means, everyone will agree that they ought to be sent out of the country. But of those Guyanese, I don't know what percentage is there. We've been trying to ascertain how many are being kept. how many are entitled to a hearing because they don't have criminal records and they don't have final orders of deportation, how many will be granted bail to allow to plead their case before an immigration judge. And that is a question, that's a very good question you asked. We'll have to continue to do research on it and find out how early we can have intervention there, either through the American Civil Liberties Union or the National Action Network or the National Advancement of for People of Colored Origin, NAACP, and other such civil rights organizations which we're in touch with to find out if we can get a FOIA, that is, information on who these people are, how long they were here, what is their status. Because, Mr. Bisram, and it's good you brought it up, there are many people who are not supposed to be deported, going to be collateral damage and picked up in that group. Some may not have their certificates on them. Some may not have proof of citizenship, proof of the green cards, proof of lawful residence, proof of temporary protected status, proof of employment authorization, proof of DACA, like deferred childhood, proof of being citizens on a citizen's visa. Visitors allowed to enter the United States for 6 months or a year. These are not people who should be deported, but ICE now has felt and has been given the mandate by the president to do that sort of abuse of the legal process. And that is a very problematic thing right now, because ICE right now feels, oh, we have the president on our side. We have instructions from the president. We have right up to the White House. So they can come in and really, really destroy communities, create a lot of panic and fear amongst people when they ought not to. When you can't sue these people because a lot of them have immunity from the law. Prosecutors and federal agents, they can do a lot of bad things to people's lives and yet not be subjected to legal accountability. And this is a big lacuna in the law that has to be solved. And we call upon him and also the U.S. Department of State and also the Department of Homeland Security to publish the list of those who are being deported and to ensure that you don't send back people. For example, there was a military person who served the military, who fought for this country, and he didn't have his ID, Mr. Bisram, and they picked him up with the rest of, criminal undocumented aliens, criminal deportees, and have him there also until his family came and brought his papers to him. Which brings us to another question. How do we prevent that sort of problem from happening? And this is a segue into how we can protect ourselves. First thing, always walk with your ID. Always walk with your ID and your documents or a copy thereof, your green card, citizenship, ID, driver's license, because this will solve a number of problems and headaches. Walk with it or a copy in your wallet every time you leave the house. Don't just take it for granted that, oh, I'm a citizen, they're going to find out. They don't care. They can arrest you and then you have to prove your case. Suppose now it's just you alone here. Who's going to get that green card from your safety deposit box or from your study or from your home? Who's going to get that certificate of citizenship or that U.S. passport to show them, well, I'm an American citizen? They will say, yeah, right, you're an American citizen. Anyway, we got to handcuff you and take you down. That's how they operate. They don't care. So you have to protect yourself. And I encourage all those who are under problems to take out a power of attorney. You can print one from the internet. It's called a power of attorney. A power of attorney gives one the ability to look after your property, pay your mortgage, pay your taxes, collect your rent, put out your garbage, to do all that is necessary. If you had to go, if you're picked up, and if you're sort of like imprisoned, or if you're sent back home, so that at least you have somebody. Because if your bank account lapses, the money goes to the state. And the banks are very quick to do that. They're quick to say, oh, we wrote you, you didn't reply, your bank account is inactive, and we send the money to the controller. To get that back is a big, they hold on to people's money. It's difficult to get back that money. So a power attorney with somebody who you trust, unfortunately, there's not many people you can trust, but unfortunately, this is how you can protect yourself. Have a power attorney done and set by and give somebody, your priest or or somebody you trust, your sister, your brother, so on, so they can protect your assets and protect your house from going to foreclosure. Because the bank now, if you didn't pay your mortgage for 3 months and you're in the detention center or you're in Guyana, then the bank will want to foreclose, or they're going to want to take the car for non-payment of that. So one thing with, or your insurance will lapse. So one thing can lead to another, Vishnu. And this is the problem. The one thing can spring forward and snowball into terrible pain and suffering for people. This is so sad. So you got to protect yourself and have those things ready with a power of attorney, and also to have your documents and all. That's the most important thing. And those of us those of you who like to go out and drink and drive and, get into arguments, that's off the table. Do not go about your business. Don't loiter around the place, make enough noise and make enough trouble. The days for that are done. Protect yourself and your family. Go home.
And
Stay in the house.
Don't drink and drive, because if you get
don't
picked
drink
up,
and drive, because you're right.
get
To
deported.
drink and drive, yes. The cops arrest you and you ask you for documents, and you don't have nothing. They're gonna call ICE on you and they're gonna hand them over right now. And I'm glad you mentioned that point as we were talking earlier before we came live. Bruce Blakeman, the chief executive of Nassau, he's gonna allow ICE to run rampant in Nassau. So all those Guyanese who went to Nassau and feel, well, oh, we outlive Richmond Hill, me American now, me rich, me got Mercedes-Benz, me a rich American, and you got to Nassau. If you don't walk, make sure you walk with your documents. Make sure you always have that you don't drink and drive and get in trouble. Because the cops there have been authorized to cooperate with ICE. Typically, local officers don't cooperate with ICE because one is federal, one is state. And there's that up to them. At a rally last Saturday, I told the officers that I spoke to them when we had the rally by civils on this same sort of issues. I told them, do you know, gentlemen, that you don't have to work for ICE, you work for the state. And therefore, you don't have to cooperate with ICE. I said, Mr. Bally, we're fully aware of that, Mr. District Leader. We are not going to ask people immigration status. If ICE tells us to arrest that person, we're not going to do it, but only based on our own intuition and investigation. So there won't be the servants or the subcontractors of ICE. And that is good. So New York City, because it's a sanctuary city, we have that protection living in New York City. But in Nassau now, there is where that lawsuit has to be brought against Mr. Blakeman, not in his capacity as the chief executive officer there, but for the policies made out whereby now he's going to subject all folks there, Guyanese, Jamaicans, and everyone else, to have a special force that is going to help ICE, which is illegal per se in a sanctuary city.
You want to tell us a little about this $135 fee.
Excellent thing you brought up, and yes, I found out that it's a cock and bull, or what Biden used to call it. He had a term, he used to call it malarkey. Then when I realized it, it's bird feces is a malarkey. He's done a lot of malarkey in his time, anyways. But a lot of as they would say, go down. It's cow shit. There's nothing like that giving $135 to anybody. People have invented this, and you know what, Vishnu, what is the Western community? A lot of them have been calling for that $135 to rat out their own people. They have been looking to make money, $135. It's best to go to Guyana and get the $500 from the president than you sell your soul like Judas and so on for $135. Thankfully, I hope this don't go to the administration when they come up with that idea to have immigrants rat on each other, because that will certainly be a terrible thing. Because Guyanese and West Indians, they don't like to mind other people's business, and they always feel, oh, this one got an illegal basement, we're gonna report him. This one got $135. They got 5 family members there. 5 times 135 equal to how much? 700 and whatever. It's what you're right. There is no money being offered, and thankfully so. And there's not going to be any money. And even if there was money, it is filthy money. Don't get involved with that. That is worse than Judas's 20 pieces of silver or 40 pieces of silver. I'm forgetting my biblical studies now. But he sold Christ down the river for 20 pieces of silver. Therefore, Guyanese must not get involved with that and rat on each other. The same thing with basement to apartments. Don't rat on people. You don't need that, because what goes around comes around. And you can get trouble for that, because they can come to you, or they can come and make trouble for you, issue violations. And then, the ICE thing was somebody, it is so much a panic, Vishnu, that people began to make up these fake websites. And people began to call. And no, but right, there's no money being offered
Yeah, just
to
yeah,
give
and just
immigrants up.
and just to close up, Guyanese shouldn't get panicked over this immigration matters. I mean, be careful, follow the law, and you give some good advice when they come in. Don't talk too much about what you're coming for, other than you're coming to visit, to be with relatives and friends, or a wedding, or some
Yeah.
whatever function.
Or you come to see the great Statue of Liberty. I want to
Yes,
see what
yes,
the
of
Statue of
course.
Liberty looks like. I want to
Yes.
see the great land of liberty.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But there's another important part I want to talk about, and that is they can also come to folks' homes, which most of the time they come knocking on your door. And if they come to their homes, they don't have to open your door because your home is your castle, your sanctuary. They have to have a warrant, and it could not any warrant. Have something called administrative warrant, where some officer signs it up or some paperwork and says, "Oh, I have a warrant to enter your house." Then you can ask them to show the warrant. If you want to disclose that you're home, then you can ask to see the warrant. How you ask? You tell them slide it under the door, and you look and see whether it's signed by a judge. If it is not signed by a judge, then you don't open your door. You don't have to open your door. Just like if a building inspector comes looking to issue violations, you do not open your door. That's your right.
Right.
Your
Mhm.
right, and you also have to invoke your right that you want to have your lawyer present. You want to see an attorney. You don't sign any papers. I have nothing to say. I have the right to silence. I have a constitutional right to invoke my Fifth Amendment right. Even if you don't remember Fifth Amendment, you tell them I'm not going to say anything. I need my lawyer present. I want to see a judge. And let it play out before the judge another 4 years from now. Because during that time, who knows, there'll be changes in immigration law. There may hopefully be changes and things like that. America's always granted amnesty in the past, President Reagan. It's been a long time. People are talking about having immigrants pay a fine, and that would help the economy because right now it's a step in the wrong direction because immigrants do all the hard work. The janitors, the security men, the taxi. And just think, if these immigrants, if our brothers and sisters are picked up, what it will cause. You can't get to the airport. You can't get food at the bazaars. You can't buy bread. Egg is $1 for one, not a dozen. Yeah, you can't get security guards. You can't get employees. And let's be honest about this. Everybody in Liberty Avenue has somebody working with them who's undocumented. The Ivory community has. America's been like that. There are over 13 million people right now undocumented in America, millions. So we know. And that's a reality and that's a fact. That has not been a crime. That is the reality of how America has been constructed from time immemorial. And therefore, if you're going to set these people in the panic, you're going to cause businesses to close. You're going to cause the economy to get smaller. You're going to cause hardship on small businesses. They'll have to close down. You're going to create havoc and pandemonium and panic in a country, and in developing communities will get nothing from the federal, state, and city government. We'll have less police officers on the street. We'll have people's children stop going to school. That's another thing, Mr. Bisram. Parents have been stopped sending their children to school because they fear they may not come back.
Quite
They will
true.
arrest them in the school. What a thought. That in the greatest country in the world, where there's a right to public education and Plyer and Doe and all these great cases brought on the Board of Education, the Supreme Court has ruled that children have a right to public education. And here parents now are scared and are given into ICE fears. I'm not going to send my child to school because they may not come back. They may be put on a plane, and then they'll come for me, and then they'll come for dad, and then they'll come for the whole family. What sort of a country are we living in? This is not the America that we have known and come to love. This is a place which is going to go down fast. It's going to get very critical. It's going to lose its prominence and respect in the world. It's already lost that. And when you talk about taking over the Gaza Strip and you're going to do this and take away Canada and the next, make it the 51st state, and you're going to take the Panama Canal and all these different things. This is all very, very serious stuff. And it's all happening, like you said. You know, I didn't even realize it was just 2 weeks that we've been into office with President Trump. He's done a lot and created a lot of mayhem. So he's got to stop and he's got to take stock, and his people have got to advise him, Mr. President. I thought that it would have been better positioning. I think it can still come back, but I think we've got to ease up with the sort of draconian policies that are coming out. And I respected him. I respect he won the election. But at the same time, we have a job to do as district leaders and leaders of the community. We just can't give up like that. And our churches have got to play a more active role in being sanctuary places so that ICE does not come into religious places of worship, because these are sanctuary places that give safety to immigrants. Our homes must not be invaded. Our jobs will have to continue to grow. We don't get any money from anybody, federal, state. How are you going to come and rip the heart out of our community? I'm afraid that it's just a matter of time before ICE comes here. I hope they just stick to the agenda of sending back criminal aliens, verify their records, and don't arrest people in restaurants, in businesses, in their homes, at schools, or anywhere else. And not to target people, allow them to go to business. But coming back to your point, yes, we should allow people to go about the business. Go about your business like before. Don't act suspiciously. Don't create attention to yourself. Don't drink and drive. Don't get involved in arguments. Don't get involved in things like shoplifting that can draw attention, law enforcement to you. Avoid any kind of upstaging, so you can protect yourself and your family. And hopefully the American dream can come back in a way that it's been for centuries and for generations, where we can truly call it a land of the free and the home of the brave, and let people know that our children fight for America. They fight and die for America. So we belong, and we have paid a lot of taxes here. We've never gotten back what we've paid in taxes. We have sustained this entire little Guyana here. And, it's time that we get our respect, but, respect is earned. Respect is never given, just like power. That's where you have to continue to fight, continue to respect yourself, continue to fight for your beliefs and for your hard work. And don't be afraid. Continue to be Americans and continue to fight for what you believe in. And that is justice and democracy.
Well, thank you. Equality. Thank you. Thank you very much, Albert Baldeo, Council in Queens, New York, elected district leader, community leader. A very activist person in the community who champions the rights of Caribbean people and immigrants in general. Thank you for joining us tonight. And with that,